Hey everybody,
Hello, Arte.
how's it going?
I seem to be having relatively few problems with my setup this time around, which scares me.
In other words, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop?
Pretty much, yeah. Um, oh, by the way, the question about how long a Shafi is,
Yeah.
I got a reply from Rawa, and he says that he tends to go with the 15.8.
Okay. I I constructed the language lessons around the 15.8. But I was just curious as far as the. I was sure you didn't pull that number out of your backside, the 13 whatever.
13 and third, yeah. That was
Yeah.
from, I'm pretty sure I got that. I picked that up from the Guild of Cartographers.
Okay. Like I said, it doesn't matter to me. I just want to know which one's correct.
And as it turns out, it's probably the 15.8, since that's the one that Rawa accepted.
Okay.
He doesn't, by the way, he says that he doesn't understand how Mark got that figure any more than I do.
Okay. I'm a little distracted here. I'm pulling up my notes on number and letter constructions.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and read you what he wrote me.
Okay.
As for a more precise definition of a span, Mike, not Mark. Mike Ando provided me with a very detailed description of how he calculated a precise definition. I understood just about none of it, but the upshot is that a span is roughly 15.8 feet. He gave it to me to an accuracy of about 30 decimal places. But I'm sticking with 15.8, but keep it around 16 feet for simplicity, because I think that is what was used for Minkata. Though I wouldn't be willing to swear to any of that information should it come up in court.
I don't know if it was you that told me, or if it was on the dictionary page, that 16 was used for Minkata because of Python limitations.
Okay,
Python
yeah,
code
that
limitations.
isn't for me. Although that, I think they mentioned something about the limitations of the game engine on the Guild of Cartographers page, which is still up, although their automations aren't working anymore.
Ah, there it is.
Hello.
Hello,
Hi,
Susan.
How you doing?
Good, yourself?
Good, thank you. I just finished helping my kidneys in another MMO, so I'm like, Larry's getting nervous. I gotta go. Okay, now I gotta put on my other MMO hat. Hi, Larry. Hi, Zeke.
Hello.
Zeke's not here yet.
No, he isn't.
Murphak. Hi, Murphak. I know he's taking a break in March. He's on a sabbatical in April, I think.
Who's taking a break in March?
Zeke?
Yeah, he tends.
Yeah, right.
He does have this tendency to wander in and out like a cat.
In or out?
Arte would be the cat expert, I think.
Yes.
With the inimitable Parker. Is Parker still around, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Still full of piss, wind, and vinegar.
Oh, did you get that? Oh, go ahead.
Or Vispin and vinegar for the G-rated version.
Larry, are you streaming, I assume?
Yes.
And did you fix the password problem where I have to use a cell phone I don't have to log in?
You tell me.
Okay. Did you and Arte discuss whether we're going to corral physically or not?
Speaking of cats, I think one just got let out of a bag.
Oh, well, the tour's starting. Well, hopefully the music's too loud. Corral? What's corral? Oh, we're not going to corral today. I meant to say Agura. That's it. Agura.
Yeah, that's the ticket.
That's the ticket.
Shiloh O'Brien is asking if someone can help him find a Relto page after the tour. Either the age is glitching or I'm blind. Which page are you talking about? Sky is Blue. Pretzel actually is the music is free as long as those advertisements are shown. So you'll see those will go away once I turn it off. But it's part of the terms of service with Pretzel that I have to show those credits for the songs.
We've got a lag today.
Oh, he's after the TM page, which is the one that I can't seem to find last time I went there looking for it.
The who page?
TM is the green crystal page.
Oh, even I don't have that.
Yeah, well, it's still pretty new, and I have a feeling that the page actually showing up was unreliable. You notice me keep looking around on camera. It's because at the moment everything seems to be working with my setup, and that's making me nervous.
It makes you nervous that everything's working?
It's like waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Precisely. See, this is going
quiet.
too smoothly.
It's too quiet. Yeah.
I'm going to be trying a new technique for showing pictures today.
Oh no.
It shouldn't be a problem. What happens is that when I show pictures, I usually, as a slideshow, I have to resize them almost every time, and that's just inconvenient. So what I'm doing is I'm actually using the Windows preview pane in File Explorer, and I'm going to try using that as the slideshow. So I've adjusted the preview pane.
Okay.
What happens is when you open up File Explorer on Windows, there's an option under View for a preview pane where part of the window becomes a place that displays a larger copy of a picture when you click on it. So I've adjusted the size of that so that that's all you see. And it's also got the advantage of I'll be able to pick and choose between the pictures without having to flip through them all to find the one that I want. So this method should have two advantages if it works properly, which is A, it'll automatically show me the size I want, and I won't have to show every picture in between to get to the one I want to show you.
My dog is blocking my access to coffee. He doesn't know how dangerous that is.
People have died from this.
Exactly. Did you see that on the news? Just kidding.
Let him know that the difference between him and a hot dog is 3 letters and a little bit of irritation.
Oh no! I'll go buy some hot dog buns and give him a hint.
That's your picture of your dog there on your screen.
Oh, that was my former dog, but yeah.
So is your current dog a Dachshund?
No, he's also Cocker Spaniel, but he's tan. But yeah, if you were a Dachshund, he would fit into the bun better, wouldn't he?
That's right.
Actually, you shave down a Cocker Spaniel and you'll find that they're about the right size too. Oh yeah, I was gonna go and oh, that's a shame.
Thank you for fixing the login problem with Twitch.
Yeah. Darlene left a note on Facebook that she will be able to come online today.
Yeah, she posted that in Twitch as well.
Yeah. By the way, how's my sound quality today? Is it better or worse than it was last time?
A little worse.
You're kind of fading in and out on your volume.
Okay, hold on a second. I'm just using earbuds in the. Let me plug in my the headphones with this boom mic. That's it.
I can already hear that's louder, and you haven't said anything.
You heard what? And I hadn't said anything?
I said, I can already hear that it's louder, and yet you haven't even said anything. Okay. Let's see. They're talking about seeing the Grand Canyon under a blanket of snow, which is something that I sure as heck have never heard of before. But it reminded me. That just doesn't sound right. I grew up in Los Angeles County in California, and in the town that I lived in, it was in the news recently that a guy who maintains the Hollywood sign was able to make snow balls next to it.
Oh, wow.
Right. And in the town that I grew up, the last time there was actually snow on the ground was 1946.
I live in Southern California, about 10 miles from Disneyland, and a few days ago, it hailed here. It was 58 degrees outside, but it hailed so thick I had a blanket of ice chunks all around the street and the back porch.
That isn't as unusual as it could be, although it's not exactly common. When I worked at Glendale Community College, which is, of course, Glendale is just north of Los Angeles proper, I got caught in the hail a few times.
Oh dear. That must be quite an experience when you're driving.
Well, I was driving a little electric cart, which means no roof, so yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh dear. Wow. We've got some new tourists today.
The hail can be very, very bad for a car. It can, depending upon the size and consistency of the hail, it can break windshields, depending upon how fast you're driving through it, too.
I would believe that. Or at least crack it, yeah.
We had a vehicle that we had leased years ago that got caught in a hailstorm, and we ended up having to pay a couple grand out of pocket when we turned it in because of the hail damage to the car.
Oh, wow.
You Well, that's kind of strange. You'd think that their insurance would cover acts of God like that.
Yeah. They think you broke it yourself.
Well, it was through a bank that we have no desire to use anymore because
Okay.
of that. Because of that reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be one thing if you rammed into a tree, but hail is not something that you have any control over, and it could just as easily affect their cars in their freaking parking lot. That's as while you're driving it.
Exactly, and it was just, well, the bank is kind of sketchy. They're all about profits for themselves, and they were kind of not really sketchy, but
No, I think that's a good word.
they weren't known for customer service.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
More like customer disservice,
Yeah.
and this really cemented the deal on that.
Yep.
Nobody's heard from Zeke yet today?
No, and I don't think he replied to any of the emails this time around, so
Okay.
presumably he's off on sabbatical.
Okay. Well, I'd like to give a shout out and welcome some new tourists, and forgive me if you've been here before, but I forgot. But Sat Hopper appears to be a new tourist, and Sky is Blue I somewhat recognize. Crew Cut I think has been here before, but welcome back. And of course, thank you all of our regulars for joining us again.
Did you notice that Sky is Blue is Me is the name in Twitch?
No, because I logged in the Twitch after Sky is Blue posted. Oh no, right here.
Yeah.
Sky is Blue's me. Yeah, there we go. Is you? Larry?
No. Oh
No,
no.
it's not you.
No, I just said Sky is Blue is the name is the avatar name in Uru, but
Right.
in Twitch.
Sky is Blue's me.
Right. Actually, I'm turning off the music now because it's almost time to start.
Yes, and we have one person who's going to be joining us in a moment.
Let's see.
10, 9, 8, 7.
It's nice to have this separate tune just for cavern tours. That way I can buddy just the tourists and I don't have to spam non-tourists. And then if we crash and stuff, or not crash, but if we need to give type directions, I can just use Buddy's chat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't see your big coffee mug, Larry.
I'm not sure
I'm concerned about you.
if whether or not to, 'cause I just noticed that my copy of the or the browser window that I was looking at Twitch in is frozen, so I'm reloading the page right now to see if there's a problem.
Okay. Oh yeah, the birds are in their own room, but they are chirping right now. Yeah,
And
they're asking for your big mug.
oh, that's I've been sipping from that all along, so
Oh, okay.
that's why I'm wondering if maybe the there's a problem with the picture. I mean, with the stream.
It's funny, Frobos is asking, saying we missed the bird prelude.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, my birds are in a different room now. Oh.
Okay, there it is. And
yeah, that sounds exactly like my budgies.
Okay. Just to be absolutely certain, everyone is hearing us right now, correct?
Well, I'll have to type that.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. So, it is time, so shall we begin?
All righty. Well, welcome everyone to today's tour. Today we are going to be touring a place that you'll figure out once you link to Mirabot. If you have any questions, we will pause from time to time. Larry will pause from time to time to answer your questions, but feel free to ask questions while he's giving us the tour, and then I'll just make a note of them and ask him when he's ready to accept questions. Some of them he may answer while you're waiting. Also make sure, well, if you're hearing my voice, you're already logged into twitch.tv LWF58. And we've already made sure everyone is listening on Twitch. And also watching Twitch is important because Larry will be showing slideshows and videos that can only be seen in the Twitch stream, which makes this tour unique. So at this point, Larry, can we go ahead and link to Mirabot?
Actually, no. Let's start out in Corel. So everyone chat with the bot, private chat, and give him the phrase to Corel.
And I'll stay behind and make sure everyone has gone.
Is the video up on the Twitch stream yet?
It should be, but mine I notice keeps freezing. So I'm kind of wondering if there's something's going on.
I see people walking around. on Twitch.
Because
There's 3 more
my
here.
Twitch screen says the feed is offline. I'm seeing the text posts.
Try refreshing and see what
Yeah,
happens.
I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, I see avatars moving around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mine keeps starting and stopping for some reason. Okay. Anyway, say in case it isn't blatantly obvious by now, today's tour is all about the residential neighborhoods. When the Rhone people of Gartenay abandoned that world, the follower of Renneref relocated to a cavern that he named Denis. The word Denis is spelled D-N-I due to a transliteration choice made by the Denis Restoration Council, or DRC. In the language of the Rhone settlers, it was spelled D and then a symbol representing a glottal stop and then N long E, and literally translates as renew. However, in colloquial use, it implies fresh start. At first, the Denis Cavern had enough people, or enough room for everyone, and they built the city in a particularly good place along the cavern wall where the rock was solid enough to support everything. From there, they spread out and built residential and industrial districts along the edge of the lake that covered most of the cavern floor, as well as deep into the rock behind that surface. When they started to run out of space, they expanded into other large and small caverns and caves. We even know the names of 3 of those other caverns, which are Irat, Rolep, and Rodena. The residential neighborhoods are tiny communities that were built into the walls of the cavern, and we know the names of 3 of them. They are called Bevan, Saret, and Corel. According to Dr. Watson, they were named after the Denis city planners who designed them. Corel was the first neighborhood to be evaluated by the DRC. Restoration work on it began in 2001, and it was opened to visitors in February of 2002. The next neighborhood, Bevan, was investigated in March of 2002, and work began on it that same year. It was on March 19th of 2002 that the beach ball first appeared in a neighborhood. It was found in Bevan and was suspected to have been brought in by a restoration engineer. The DRC's official stance was toleration, but there was mild disapproval. There was an official note about it that read, "It's not our purpose to stifle frivolity, but restoration engineers should remember to maintain a professional level of conduct." On March 21st, the first authorized explorers were permitted to enter Denis, and on the 22nd, a party was held officially opening Bevan for use. Now, I'm going to show you a map here on the stream. Let's see if I can figure out where my mouse is. Okay, and I'm looking at the wrong thing, so... Here we go. Okay, now when the map shows up, if you look at this, I found out that my measurements are off here because I was going off of information that the unit of measurement that the Denis had, which is called a shafi, I, I was going by an interpretation of that from the Fan Guild of Cartographers, who thought that it was 13 and a third feet. However, I have since found out, and Dr. Watson has confirmed this, that a shafi is actually 15.8 feet. And so at some point, I'm going to have to go through all the trouble of recalculating all these distances and redo this map. But if you look at this, you will see that there's a big star where the Denis city was located, north of Agra Island. And you will see that there are two dots off to the left of it, one of which is a kind of blue color, and one of which, and that's where we are right now, Corel. And then just below it, there's another dot, and that's the location of Bevan. So just imagine those dots are a little ways further north along that line, and that'll be because my distances measurements were slightly off because of the mix-up on how far it is. By the way,
I see Kavir out there too.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that.
Oh, sorry.
You'll also notice that on this map, I've got two other things, on this section, I've got two other things marked. If you've ever wondered where Corel is, I mean, not Corel, Kavir is. Unlike, if you've ever seen Atris's map, people have noted it as being far to the east of Agra Island, and but the problem with that is that if you look out the window in the ballroom of Kavir, you can see that Agra Island is north of you. And that's because it actually is located, according to its key coordinates, where you see approximately where you see it on my map. It's in between Agra Island and the city. And the other thing you may notice is up in the upper right edge of the map, you'll see a bright blue dot, or which is the location of the city silo, which you get to when you visit Urkana.
Where did you get the graphics for this map? Is this the floor of the Great Zero room, or?
Yeah, that's it. The floor of the courtyard of the Great Zero. The map there is the Denis Cavern, and so I used that as a basis, and then did a fair amount of modification to it. Like, for instance, adding on Agra Island and Kavir, because they don't appear on that. The spots where they would be are covered up by the fountain. Okay. Anyway, so yes, that map was is something that I made using a mosaic from the Great Zero as a base. It isn't entirely geographically accurate because the elevation lines were hard to interpret. The apparent water line was set in way too far, and a big part of the middle was left out to leave space for the water channel, the neutrino dispenser, and the well underneath it. However, the map is reasonably accurate in showing how things relate to each other, and that's the important part. I surveyed the link endpoints for as many features as I could and used the key readings to plot where they were on the map after placing the Great Zero in the exact center. And I was able to do that because of the Tauran lines marked on the Great Zero map. Now, bearing in mind that I'm going to have to modify these figures now that I found out that a Shafi is a bit longer than I thought it was, but when you link to Bevan, the spot where you arrive is 60265, 999, -71. When you link to Corel, you arrive at 60040, 1036, -103. And the Denis coordinate system calculates positions by detecting a fan of concentrated neutrinos that are broadcast from the machine found in the Great Zero courtyard. That's that blue glow that you see moving across things. Your key device detects its angle, distance, and elevation above or below the neutrino machine and displays the result in Denis units of measured called Tauranti and Shafiti. A circle is made up of 62,500 Tauranti, so there are 173.6 of them to each of the degrees used to measure angles on the surface. A Shafi is a distance equal to 15.8 feet. And I'm going to have to recalculate that because that's different than what I knew before, as far as what that converts to in meters. In any case, there is a 225 Tauranti angle between Bevan and Corel, and a 37 Shafiti difference in distance, and a 37 Shafiti, and a 32 Shafiti difference in height. In US measurements, that's a difference of about 1 degree of angle, somewhere in the vicinity of about 500 feet in distance and about 500 feet in height. In practical terms, that puts the two neighborhoods almost side by side, which you would have seen in the map. And it also places them somewhere around 300 feet, or about roughly 90-something meters above the surface of the Denis Lake. And Bevan is also around somewhere between 2.5 to 3 miles, or about 4 to 4.5 kilometers from the Great Zero. And they are not very far from the Denis city, really. The fact that they are, there's several things that make these likely to have been well-to-do dwellings. The first is the proximity to the Denis city, because the closer you are to the line of magnetic north from that runs from Agra Island to the Denis city, generally speaking, the more status that location gives you. The other thing is that we have a very nice view of Agra Island from here. We have relatively nice houses. We've got beautiful scenery like this courtyard. We have a light garden. The various neighborhoods have game machines. And, more importantly, they have a room devoted to linking books for the residents to use. And all of those things are kind of marks of status. The average construction worker living day to day is probably going to be buried somewhere deep inside the Denis tunnel system, living where he can't see any, he doesn't even have windows, much less a view of anything. And he certainly won't have a light garden or linking books. This particular neighborhood we're in is Corel, and this was the first place, of course, that I mentioned before, that the DRC, the first neighborhood the DRC found, and it served as their headquarters until they were able to make buildings on Agora Island safe to use. And of course, once they had done that, they moved into Tokata 1 as their new headquarters. And there's a chance that they may have lived here in this neighborhood while they were in the cavern. One of the things that's notable about this particular place is that if you were here for the last tour, this is also the place where they imprisoned Phil Henderson for a short time when he was acting erratically and climbing into places that the DRC really didn't want him to go. So, oops, I need to grab the right mouse here. Let's see, this is a mirror image, by the way, of the other residential neighborhoods. And so if we go over here to the bridge, this room here that I'm standing next to, the DRC called the private room, or private rooms. I also tend to call them meditation chambers because of the way they're designed. This particular place, the DRC actually made controls for and was able to lock it or unlock it. And so they put Phil Henderson in here with some supplies and kept him in here for for several days while they talked to him and tried to convince him to stop getting into trouble. Said the cat. And before you feel too sorry for Phil, although it really did upset a lot of people when they captured and imprisoned him back in the day. You have to understand is that what he was doing was not only against the terms of his employment, but they were sincerely scared that he was going to get himself killed by misbehaving the way he was. And that was why they took away his Roto book and locked him in here so that they could keep him safe while they talked to him and tried to convince him to behave himself. Due to protests from explorers at the time, though, and who did all sorts of things like sit-ins and the like, they did release him not too long afterwards. But their concern turned out to be entirely on the mark, because the day after he was released, he got into trouble again by climbing up all the way to the top of the Guildhall complex, and where there was a collapse of rock, and he was presumed killed in the fall, although as it turned out, he actually did survive that. Apparently he was rescued by Yisha, or one of her Baro more specifically.
And wasn't there an episode released about that, a live episode?
Well, that's something that we covered last month. So I'd rather not go too deep into this. So Sky is Blue is asking, why did they not just send him back to the surface? And the thing is that the surface is a 3-day walk from here, and they would have had to devote its people to do so. And with Jeff Zandy sitting up there, being who is also a devotee of Yisha, there was no guarantee that he couldn't just turn around and come right back with Jeff Zandy's help. In any case, there's one other thing that of note here, and that is the community room, which is out here. Oh, by the way, you'll note that the lamp covers in here are different than the ones that you'll find in an awful lot of the residential neighborhoods. This is called a B in the notes that I have for it. Oh yeah, okay, if you Arte wants to visit, or excuse me, Rode wanted to visit the classroom, except that the classroom door here is disabled, so we won't be able to get into it. Why this door is disabled, I don't know. We'll be talking about
so it opens, right?
Yeah.
As far as I know, that the classroom door was never able to be unlocked during any of the restorations.
Okay. But we'll be covering more of that stuff later when we get to the other neighborhoods. However, in this one, we have the community room, which is up the stairs. I've noticed that several people have been trying to link to other players, including me. You have to give that to the bot as a private message for those commands to work.
And it won't work in Corel.
Oh, that's right.
It's not a Mirobot.
This is not one of Mirobot's ages.
You know what I noticed here too? This hood seems to have a different color tint to it.
Yes, it does. This one is primarily blue, whereas others tend to be more yellow. The lighting. So I'm standing in front of a device here called a Canon, which is a music or a sound player. Currently, this particular one is being used by the Fan Guild of Writers to give various announcements about the progress of fan restorations of ages. I won't play those for you. However, back during the restoration time, This particular canon played a message from Dr. Watson. And let's see. Okay. You have to excuse me, I'm trying to find my way around in here. Audio. Hopefully you'll be able
Hello?
to hear this.
Test. Victor, are we on? Okay. Okay then. Hello, everyone. Hi. Thanks to Victor, we've gotten some additional Denis technology working. It should be quite useful in sending messages here from the Dakota to the numerous neighborhoods as one more way to keep you informed of how things are progressing. Let me begin by once again welcoming newcomers to Denis. We're very pleased to have you. I know I've spoken with a few of you in person, but to those of you I haven't met yet, welcome to the restoration. The DRC and restoration engineers have been working very hard to put things in order. As you've probably noticed, various areas of the island, Agura, have been opened over the past few weeks, with quite a bit more scheduled over the next few days, weeks, and months to come. We are also working on opening up several new ages. And what we know that many of you have been given access to ages that haven't gone through any kind of process yet. And we certainly do not encourage use of any unapproved books. But let's just say that with your safety uppermost in our minds, we're pushing to approve those ages just as quickly as we can. Oh, and several of you have asked what you can do to help with the restoration effort. As you may already know, the Denis keys have the ability to determine their precise location here in the cavern as well as in other ages. Much of this functionality is governed here in the cavern by the Great Zero. Victor has recently succeeded in getting portions of the Great Zero functioning again.
For those who aren't aware,
but he tells me
it's
still
the Guild of Messengers
needs to be calibrated.
Holds its
We'll
monthly
soon begin to
all
focus
guilds
on
meeting,
another island
where we
area, the
talk
ferry
about
terminal
events
and its
technological,
associated docks.
computer
We
programming
actually had some
changes to
restoration
the
engineers do
game,
some diving, and they
it's the
found a
first Saturday
sunken
of each
boat
month at
that we hope to
1300 key time.
raise at a later date. Before that, however, we will inspect the docks and approve them for
So for
public
those of you
access.
keeping
Now,
track at
let's
home,
see.
that's next Saturday.
Yes,
Exactly.
outside the cavern.
Okay, were people not hearing the recording that I was playing?
Oh,
you
you
said-
know what? I had you muted. I'm so sorry.
Right, because I was right in the middle of playing Watson's recording when you broke in there. So okay, then I'll finish it up now.
Garisen continues to progress nicely. Victor's team has recently made some discoveries that'll enable us to open up more of the interior space. The wall is what we call it. Members of our team are also working on another age that should be opened within the next few weeks. Perhaps we will post some pictures. I will end by addressing some peculiar events that have been occurring. Odd stones, books, cloths, and pages have been reported appearing from time to time. Rather than insist, probably unsuccessfully, that you not use these oddities, the DRC will for now simply wash its hands of any consequence arising from their use. In other words, if you use them, you do so at your own risk. We will continue to remove these artifacts if they're found, but so far that has proved fruitless. But, no. I'm sorry to say it this way, but anyone involved in the placing of these books will be banned from the cavern. But to end on a good note, thanks for all the continued help to all of you and patience as Denis slowly begins to grow again.
Okay, that should be the end of the recording. That was supposed to be Dr. Watson. Now, we'll speak out of character for a moment here. Dr. Watson in that recording was being played by David Ogden Stiers. uh, who of course also played Zandy and um, okay, Escher in Myst 5. So he actually had 3 roles, and I often forget that he played Dr. Watson for this recording. This isn't in my script, but I just remembered that Rawa had something to say about that. Let's see if I can look up that. Okay. This is an email that Rawa sent me, so I'm going to go ahead and read you part of it. The recordings of Dr. Watson were voiced by David Ogden Stiers, may he rest in peace. I tried out for the part, but didn't get the gig. I guess I don't sound enough like me. I sounded too nervous, uncomfortable, and uncomfortable being recorded and whatnot, 'cause I was. Apparently, Rand wanted someone who sounded more comfortably uncomfortable. So David has a lot of ums and pauses and the like, but he still sounds like someone who's used to public speaking, to me at least. I think my performance, though, was not what was needed for the game. Excuse me. I think my performance, though not what was needed for the game, is more how Dr. Watson would have sounded. He's not a public speaker and doesn't want to be one. We'll never know how players would have felt about something that didn't sound like a voice actor as not being fitting in a professional game.
Wasn't he a friend of the Millers as well?
I'm not sure. You may be thinking of Jeff Zandy, the person that the character of Jeff Zandy was based on, who was a childhood friend of the Millers.
And someone was asking again where the recording can be heard. It's in what is it? Ages Beyond Myst and Uru Complete Chronicles.
There, and also Arte tells me that while this canon is being used for Guild of Writers announcements, if you cycle through it enough times, you can come up with that message again. It's not, it hasn't been removed, but they've added more to it.
You mean in their shard?
And I mean here in Corel.
Oh, here in the Corel, okay.
Yeah. This is where that message has always been. Okay. Now, did we have any questions that I missed about Corel?
I don't think so.
Okay. In that case, for the rest of this, let's go ahead and move over to the bot. So everyone, we're going to PM the word link to Mirabot.
Ro has a question.
Okay.
Why is Corel a mirror image of the Hoods and Bevins?
Because that's how it was built. That's the only answer there is to give you.
Well, with this cavernous structure, it's possible, that it just fit better maybe with the stalactites, which are probably also a mirror image as well. But
there's also an out of character explanation too for it.
Okay.
Well, they wanted it to look different, but an easy way to do that is just make it a mirror image of something else that they've already created.
Another way you could look at Kirill and Bevan is Bevan could be the West Coast and Kirill the East Coast, or North or South, whichever way you want to look at it, of that. And they're kind of on the opposite ends of the thing.
But yeah, the mundane and true explanation is that they were under a lot of pressure to produce an awful lot of models in very short times. So they tended to reuse things whenever possible. By rights, all of our neighborhoods should look differently from each other instead of being carbon copies, but that would have taken a tremendous amount of work, which they just couldn't do, especially when you're getting maybe hundreds of new players at a time. Corel is not laid out differently. It is simply a mirror image. So everything, it can be a little confusing, as it was to me while we were there a moment ago. But the fact is that everything is laid out exactly the same. Okay. Now let's see, where was I? Ah, yes. And because of that, the versions of Bevan and Surret that we can visit are identical to each other, right down to where the stalactites and stalagmites are. The only way that you can tell you're in a Bevan or style neighborhood or a Surret style neighborhood is by means of the lamp covers in the main courtyard. Bevan has a lamp cover which is called the hand tree. And you can see that here right next to me. However, when you're in a Surret style neighborhood, you get the B lamp cover. Murfact, if you can, please change the lamp covers. The overall color of the light in both styles is yellow, and both neighborhoods have a third lamp cover in common, which you'll find along the water. There we go. All three neighborhoods have the same common areas and living quarters. Each has a waterfall, a courtyard with a fountain, a garden of lights, a community room, a classroom, a tiny common library, and most will have, except for Corel, will have an audiohic table. And they all have a main residence with a large balcony. They are all decorated in the same themes that are found throughout the Denis city and Agora Island. The safety railings that you will see in places, in particular, have both the dripstone and Kurith's arch designs that are found on Agora Island. And if we look at the stream window, I will go ahead and let's see. Okay. So I'm bringing up the design for Curith's Arch on the stream window. And then the other type of balustrade, which I mentioned, is dripstone. You will not only see this as a balustrade, but you will also see this as a door on the waterfront of Agra Island when you go off to the far end from the ferry terminal to where that little cave is. And I'm showing you a couple of examples of those balustrades here in the neighborhood. Susan asked me if I'm talking about the lock gates. When you go to the end of the waterfront, you'll find one gate propped open and broken. And then, yes, the one past that, which goes out onto that short curved surface, section of walkway, is the one that's locked. The reason why there is one fancier home in each of the neighborhoods is unknown. In a kind of a flight of fancy of my own, I kind of theorize that the neighborhoods may have been middle-class residential districts that might have been devoted to extended families or clans. And if that idea has any merit at all, that would mean that the home with the balcony might have been for a community leader or family head. However, that again is just theory. The other thing that we're kind of uncertain about is whether or not there were any apartments here or if all of the dwellings are single family. Now, right here in the middle of the neighborhood, you will see, this thing here, which is a camera with it attached to a notebook computer. This is called the hood cam, and it was a failed experiment on the part of the DRC. They first placed it in a neighborhood on the 15th of February in 2004 to transmit a live stream of traffic passing by up to their website. The idea was to have some kind of neighborhood contest to win the right to have the camera show your neighborhood. In the end, though, it didn't work out. There were frequent technical problems with transmitting the signal to the surface, and the DRC gave up on the idea around June 15th of 2006 and shut down the project entirely. Now, everyone, of course, has been on Yisha's quest, so you know about the another feature that's here. At least I am assuming that everyone's been on Yisha's quest, because if not, I'm going to be giving a spoiler in a moment. Let's see.
Do you have a quick moment to answer Shiloh's question before it scrolls out of view?
What's that?
Shiloh asks, how did the small community libraries relate to larger public libraries? Was there a book rotation program, or were the ages exclusive to these gated neighborhoods?
Because they were two fairly common. Okay, back in, I believe it, Arte, it was at the 8200s when they had the garden bench. Arte must be muted.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I think it was the 8100s was the garden bench.
8100s. Okay. Yeah, back in the Denis century, 8100, this was after the abdication of King Kurth, and the council of the time undertook a number of projects in which they, which presumably were meant to kind of curry favor and get popular with the Denis people. And in that, they commissioned the writing of a ton of garden ages, and then the books were distributed, were copied, linking books were made and distributed all over the place. There was even an island, one of the islands in the Denis Lake, that was turned into a park that was devoted to the to having some of these garden ages on them. And so presumably the neighborhoods all got those books because they were handing them out to pretty much anyone they thought that was going to be, let's see, was going to be influential. Okay. Oh, the reason for the pauses here is that I'm trying to find my picture, and I forgot where I hid it. Let's see. Oh, here it. I hid it in the wrong place. That's why. Okay. So what we have here is the baroglyph tablet that's found on the balcony of that special house. It, of course, blocks the door from the balcony that would have opened into that home. And the only way to reach it, of course, is by finding a borrow stone that links there. The pictographs on the stone represent the path of the hand, Yisha's first quest. The top part of the top part of the drawing shows a pillar from the Baro cave in the ceiling of Radina cavern, moving to Ralto and then back. And then the lower section shows a Baro cave with a star field and the star field from the fissure below it, a group of Baro with the weeping eye symbol, and then the Baro cave with Radina below it. It's a common mistake for explorers to think that when they jump from that cave, they are falling into the Denis cavern, but they're not. At one time, key devices actually worked in the Baro cave, and while they didn't show any coordinates, they did have the name of the location. For that reason, it's certain that the caverns were falling into Radina. The weeping eye symbol seen on the stone tablet is a Baro symbol that they used to identify themselves. Explorers have proposed some very creative meanings for it, but nothing that explains what it really means has ever been found, and neither the DRC or Yisha have ever spoken about the glyphs. What is known that the Baro used it frequently in their rock carvings. It's often found where they drew pictures of themselves, sometimes near them, and sometimes on their bodies. This stone tablet shows it being used both ways. And that weeping eye symbol is one of the ways that you can be certain that figures in a baroglyph are meant to be the baro themselves. Okay, and let me go ahead and turn that off for now. Now, behind me, whoops, I keep grabbing the wrong mouse. Okay. We have an overlook off of the courtyard that looks out towards Agra Island. And if you look through the telescope here, you will be able to see the harbor, the Great Stairs, and various other parts of the island. In Bevan and that telescope, by the way, is found in both Bevan and Serret, but it isn't found in Corel. Okay, now something that you'll want to watch out for and may be able to see, and we'll leave turned on so that you can look through the telescope. But at one point, the DRC had boats operating out on the water, or it may have been Yisha who had them moving. Murfak, if you can turn on both the boats and the fish, please. Once he's done so, if you look out at the line of islands over near the horizon, the big island is Agra itself, and between that and the ones on the islands on either side, you should be able to see a boat moving. Also, when you look down from the balcony, once we get these things working, you might see one of the creatures that live in the lake. At one point, I ran across information that it was a giant treadfish, and it's a type of animal which is different from normal treadfish and only exists in the Denis Lake. Say, you should be able to see its silhouette as it swims through the water, and it'll be off towards the right of the overlook. By the way, a lot of people have theories as to what that particular creature might be. For instance, you heard Rose say that it might be a shark. Myself, I tend to think of it as being some kind of a whale because of the way it looks like it has horizontal flukes on the tail. I probably should have made videos of them just in case, but say if they don't work, that's just par for the course with the cavern. Okay, no, I see the boat. It's just reaching Agra Island and has gone into its shadow.
Yeah, I can see it on your Twitch stream.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. It just went behind that tall island.
That's Agra.
Yeah.
Eventually, it'll come out on the left side of Agra Island.
And would
The
it be
tread.
one of the... Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You're gonna say?
Well, when we go to Agra, there's those sunken, huge wooden boats that kind of look like Viking ships. Is that the type of boat that would be?
It's not in enough detail to where we can tell. Say, I've never
Oh,
been
yeah,
able to
there's the
get.
fish. Perfect. You all see the fish now that the lake is gold?
Let's see. Is that off?
It's not swimming to the right. It's about to go out of view.
Yeah, at the moment I'm not seeing it, unfortunately. But what I can do here is let's see.
I could only see it when the lake was gold.
Okay. Extra. There we go.
Someone have a fishing pole handy?
Oh, that's not going to work.
Not unless you have some bait for it.
In any case, the treadfish is just one of the creatures known to live in the cavern. The Denis spent thousands of years traveling to the ages they wrote and trading with the inhabitants of those ages. Along the way, they brought back creatures as pets or curiosities, while others would have been carried along with cargo shipments. Here in the neighborhood, there are 3 fireflies, for instance, that have probably hitched a ride when somebody was linking through. And you will find those fluttering around the lamps. If you look at the lamp right over there, you'll see one of them, and I think there may be one by the lamp that I'm near. But you can see it flittering around that lamp leading up to the balcony here. And then there's another one along one of the back walkways near the linking book room. The supposed treadfish shows that there are fish in the lake, and that means that there are also other forms of life that go along with them. As a matter of fact, one of the buildings that the DRC was attempting to repair on Agra Island was an aquarium. The aquarium, from what can be told from existing illustrations, was home to exotic animals from different ages. I've seen evidence that the DRC discovered bones from at least one animal not native to Denis in one of the display tanks. There's another type of animal that lives in the lake, but we don't know how or why it was brought here. It's a species of aquatic mammal that bears strong resemblance to a whale. The DRC made a drawing of it, but I haven't found any information about what it really is or where it might have come from. And I'll put that up on the stream. Okay. Whoops. There we go. One thing's for certain, it doesn't look like while it looks like a whale, it certainly doesn't look like any that I have ever heard of here on Earth. Of course, another feature that you won't find anywhere else can be found down at the bottom of these steps towards the light garden, and that's the Ioheek table. This is a game that was popular at the time of the fall of Denis, along with a board game called Gemadet. And that was with the team game, whatever that was played in the age of Jalak and the arena spectacles in the age of Lakian. This game is similar to playing rock, paper, scissors, although the symbols are a beetle, a page, and a pin. Points are awarded for each win, defeat, or tie in a round, and the winner of the round is determined by the points. The object of Ioheek is to collect 3 of a given symbol, and the winner of each round collects 1 of the symbol he or she used in the round. The strength of the symbol is pin defeats book, book defeats beetle, and beetle defeats pin. Ioheek is a very old Denis game, though. It predates these consoles. In the distant past, before the holographic tables were made, the game was played with rods that were called canes. The beetle, book, and pin icons were inscribed around the base of each of the canes, and the players would stand in a circle. Each player would rotate his or her wrist so that the chosen symbol was on the face towards the other players, and then they raised their canes and revealed the selected symbols so that the winner could be determined. Now, this whole thing has a very interesting backstory that goes with it. Richard A. Watson told me this. When we were creating the neighborhoods, we wanted to have a simple game to have in it. Rand and Ryan Miller and I brainstormed for a while. We came up with several little games, but none really stuck. So we ended up with rock, paper, scissors. Rand came up with the get 3 of the one symbol element. We tried it, and we really liked the strategy it required. For example, I have 2 beetles. I need 1 beetle to win. You know that I need a beetle, so you might play pin. But I know that you know, so maybe I'll play book to beat your pin. But you know that I know you know, and so on. It really felt like the battle of wits in The Princess Bride between Vizzini and the Dread Pirate Roberts. I'm sure you know it. The Dread Pirate Roberts used iocane powder to win this battle. Because of that connection, I wanted to call the game iocane, but disguise it so that it wasn't obvious. So I gave the game the background story you just heard a moment ago. In the Riven schoolroom, on the spelling test, you can learn that heek is the Denis word for Gen's cane. So iocane became Ioheek. To further disguise the io from iocane, it became ahyo, which would translate to icon or symbol. So Ioheek literally means icon cane. And it's a complicated jumble of Denis and English for my own inside joke. Richard A. Watson. By the way, there are notes about the status of DRC restoration projects that were on their website that mentioned a dedicated neighborhood gaming room, but not where it was located or what it contained. It was listed in Phase 1 of restoration, and that it had passed the structural integrity testing on the 3rd of November in 2006. There are locked doors near the fountain that would open onto a space below the community room, and that's a possible candidate for where the game room might have been located. The next thing, of course, is the Garden of Lights. After settling in the cavern, the Denis quickly got tired of seeing bare rock around them. They had come from a world filled with life, and they decided to do something to break up the sterility of their new home. Without sunlight, they couldn't plant real gardens, so they decided to make replicas with artificial plants and other interesting features. Since they needed light to see anyway, they incorporated fire marble lamps as part of the aesthetic design and even added controls to turn the lamps on and off. That permitted a visitor to change the overall coloring of the garden. That raises the question of how it was done. Fire marbles produce light by a chemical reaction and never stop until they wear out. As a guess, I think that they might have, that when they wanted to stop the light, they might have used some kind of mechanical shroud that could be activated using electricity, or a means of causing the lamp lenses and translucent covers to become opaque. Wealthy citizens, of course, had other options to get away from the bleakness of the caverns. They had access to linking books to recreational ages. That was the root of a famous incident in the reign of the third king of Denis, Shomat. He was the first Denis king to want to live in a palace, and his architects included an elaborate garden somewhere inside the palace. And given the limitations, as I mentioned, of growing plants underground, the chances are it was a garden of lights. The thing is that he was not satisfied with it and demanded that the Guild of Writers make a book to a beautiful garden age for his personal enjoyment. They did, but the age turned out to be set in a world that with a native intelligent race. In one of the most shameful acts of his reign, he ordered that the natives be exterminated so they wouldn't clutter up his garden. We'll be going into more detail about that story in a different tour.
Excuse me, Larry?
Mm-hmm.
One of the tourists had a question about the IOHEAT table, and neither one of us knows if you covered this. Above the table is that monogram. It kind of looks like a ship to me. Did you discuss what that represents?
There isn't a monogram of that looks like it. I should say, what that is a monogram of the word IOHEAT in Denis letters.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Let me see.
That type of monogram is referred to as a mandala.
Actually, that's it. I avoid using that word myself because it is incorrect. The mandala is actually a mandala is actually a geometric design, and if we use it in conjunction or or to refer to the monograms that you'll find around Denis, it would refer to the outer ring that has the patterns on it. But the actual writing is definitely a monogram. Okay, anyway, the other thing that you'll see over next to the light garden here are some of the windows of Denis homes. And also you can see, of course, the third type of lamp cover that I was talking about here. That's just a lamp. The yellow thing that you see in the middle of the light garden is just another lamp. The monogram Caver 1, if you look at the Ayuhik table, you'll see the three symbols rotating around a shape, and that's the letters for Ayuhik kind of run all together in a monogram. Okay. In any case, getting back to the homes, there are an unknown number of homes that were excavated into the cliffs in and around the neighborhood. You can see windows that allowed residents to look outside scattered above the common areas. Entrance to residences and tunnels appears to have been via doors that open onto the neighborhood walkways and courtyards. There are windows for a number of homes scattered around the common areas, but it's unlikely that those homes are the only ones that exist. The Denis tended to excavate to create more structures than they built on the exterior spaces of their caverns. The cavern rock was often flawed or unstable, so they had to make use of almost every suitable bit of it they could find. For that reason, I suspect that for every home that we can see here in the neighborhoods, there are probably many more that we cannot. Okay, let's go back up the steps.
I have a silly question.
Mm-hmm.
Did Dunny install some sort of sewer system that we know of? Or is it implied?
Yes. One of the things is that, you have to look at the concept art to find out about that, because they have cutaway plans for various things like the Denis city, which showed some of the implications of that sort of thing. So if we go up here behind the fountain, you will see that here there are a number of doors, which of course have never been opened. They lead underneath the community room. Other than the guess that they might have opened into the game room mentioned by the DRC, it's also possible that they may lead to stairs and tunnels to the homes above the community room and elsewhere around the cavern. Now, right smack in the middle over here, we have another Denis home, which is the only example that we have of how big they might be, since this one is actually surrounded by corridors. It's also the only one that I'm could possibly have more than one level, because if you go back down by the river and the light garden, there is a door down there into what may be a lower level of this home. This particular one, the main door, however, is up the stairs here. and over to the side. There is, of course, at least one home under the linking book library, and several above the classroom and meditation rooms. The thing about those is that there doesn't seem to be any obvious way to get up to those homes. But we'll be talking about that again in a few minutes. Now, the other thing that we'll talk about while we're here, you'll notice that there are Denis numbers over the door into this home, and the two over behind Arte. The reason why I call them addresses, other than the fact that they seem to be above doors, is that the DRC notes about them mention that they are addresses. So the chances are these particular three doors probably open up directly into Denis homes. The address numbers are all in 4-digit groups, and all of the digits are between 0 and 9 and never go any higher. All of the numbers are set in bars instead of individual boxes. On the inside of the corridor, where they are located, there is one door marked 4649, and that's the one into the home that's surrounded by corridors that we were talking about a moment ago. On the other side of the corridor, there are two doors that are marked 6497 and 7840. That's puzzling because the numbers are not sequential as they would be on the surface, although they do rise in count. And so there are many questions about them. Denis number bars usually represent extended numerical values, and individual numbers are normally in separate boxes. So if you read those numbers as a math statement, the way number bars normally are, 4649 would be 66,359. 6497 would be 96,482 in base 10 math, and 7840 would be 114,475. However, they make even less sense if read that way, so street addresses may be an exception to the normal way that one reads Denis numbers.
Do you think those numbers could be equivalent to how we have square feet in homes? Maybe it's measuring the square feet of each home.
Well, the thing is that it does, as I mentioned, the notes about those numbers do say addresses specifically.
Okay.
Are there numbers the same in Corral as they are here in the hoods?
Yeah, because everything's, remember, the same model, and they use the same art for them.
Right. So each hood uses the same numbering system for these doors too.
Correct. Well, in that one, it makes more sense because these are all instances of of each other, with a new instance being created for every new neighborhood.
Right. If I could ask a quick question as well.
Mm-hmm.
When we were looking at the windows, the blue window along the window pane, or on the whatever the solid part, had looked like gear icons.
That
or
would
were
just
those
be
suns,
yeah. There's no particular logic behind the window designs that I know of.
Okay.
Okay.
You know, one
Anyway,
thing
the
that
next thing. Go ahead,
I would
RK.
say, one thought that I've always had about these door numbers, since the numbers are identical in Bevan, Serret, and Kirill, um, I've not heard anything to verify this, but it would seem to me that it might be a code for the location of the door with regard to a central point in the neighborhood, like the fountain or something like that. So it'd be more like the address of a location code or a location code type of address. But do not take that as canon. I have nothing to back that up. That's just my own personal observation of it.
The other thing is aren't I'd have to back up to look at this, but aren't Toronti numbers normally more digits than that? What is it? Something like 5 or 6 digits for a Toronti.
Oh, you mean like for the angular measurement?
Yes.
Uh, yeah, it would be, yeah, it's 5 digits for Toronti.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So,
Okay.
but that's also base 10, not base 25. The Toronti from our keys is base 10, not base 25.
That's
So,
true. It would they have to be because we can't translate to need numbers directly. Okay. Anyway, let's go up to the community room again here in this particular neighborhood. Now, there's several features in the community rooms and I don't know if you noticed them before. The community room is a room where meetings and lectures could be held. The podium at the front of the room, of course, as I mentioned before, is a cannon, which is a kind of Denise sound recorder and player. Using it, messages could be pre-recorded and distributed to be replayed later. The 3 devices around the podium, which would be the one I'm standing next to here, one above the cannon, and then one opposite of where I'm standing. Those are speakers. And in fact, if you were to go to play a message from the cannon in one of the community rooms, and then move over to one of those devices, you can actually hear sound coming from it. In this particular room, over on the podium, the DRC left a notebook. This book contains poetry about the coming of the great king that was written by explorers. I don't know whether or not that was for a contest, though. However, apparently it might have been, since the winning poetry obviously was left here. In the center of the chamber, hanging from the ceiling, you will see a chandelier that has some fire marbles in it. And that was made by cutting the end off of a stalactite, attaching it with and then reattaching it with a chain after setting the fire marbles into it. Now, this particular cannon contains a badly damaged recording in the Denis language that seemed to be speaking about an outsider, or Arotan, in the Denis language. And I'm going to go ahead and play that for you as soon as I can bring it up. Here we go.
Door. Kenneth Gormetzer nou e-mail vertel. De vajeti ook met mij recordas. Kohuri tini Bernardo Fassi vajeti. Magorma Kuragoro Perat Porba. De Arotan Kokeso en Tanjera Notzo Retabio.
Arotan, of course, which means outsider, as I mentioned, referred to people who were not of Rhone or Denis descent, usually those they found living in worlds where they created ages. For that reason, some people have actually liked to translate Arotan as book worlder, although that's not exactly what it means. Aro in Denis actually means other, and the extension tan just means that it is a person. In any case, the message that was recorded is very hard to understand, and interpretation of it is nearly impossible. Now, one interesting thing to note out of character is that this recording is the only time that you will hear Rawa's voice in this game. He is the one who recorded this message. However, unfortunately, his notes about that he read when he made this recording were lost, and he has no idea himself what it was he was saying here. So unfortunately, we may never know. I told him that if he ever did find those notes, he knows who to send them to. Okay. The next place that we want to go will be the linking book library.
And we have a half hour left. Are we good on time?
We'll find out. We'll get as far as we can. If we do run over, of course, we'll just postpone the rest until the next session.
I was going to say, last one out, turn off the lights in the community room, but Murphac took care of that.
Thank you, Murphac. We could not do these chores without Murphac. Thank you, Murphac, so much.
Murphac is the best.
Now, for the moment, we want to be standing over near the outside railing and look so that we can see the stained glass in this room. One sign that the residential neighborhoods were home to prosperous Denis is the presence of this small common library. Linking books were handwritten and had to be made in the place that they linked to. That made them expensive even if they were just copies. The neighborhoods have a special room here that held 4 book stands. One is for a Nexus book, and 3 for other ages. This is a status symbol that the average community of lower class Denis citizens could never hope to own. We have no way to know what books might have been originally kept here. All of the books that we see now were placed here by the DRC for explorers, and then, of course, there is a pedestal that the Baro installed for a linking stone that takes you to an instance of Agra Island that is solely available to this neighborhood. Why the Barrow did that is unknown. The DRC is also responsible for the 3 stained glass panels that hang above the books. Back during the restoration, Michael Ingbert supposedly found fragments of similar panels that the Denis had hanging in the same places, but he didn't have enough to reconstruct them. So in 2007, the DRC held a series of contests in which explorers were encouraged to submit designs for replacement panels. The winning designs were reconstructed at DRC expense. Murfak, can you start cycling the panels? There are 4 different linking books that can be on the stands. So there are stained glass panels that have 3 variations for each of them. So that means that there are a total of 12 designs for these stained glass panels. The winners of the contests were Ekis, Rusty, and Zalion 11 for Ederdelin. Eddard Sokol was won by Barbara, Skycream, and Moiety Jean. Garrison was won by Bifo LaRue, Greg Dean, and Gregory Champeau. And then the Great Zero designs were made by Mr. Cloak, Resolute Guardian, and Tweak. Okay. During the Barrow War, one or more Barrow would appear in various places around the cavern and cry out. What, if anything, they were saying is unknown, since Yisha never said anything about it. But there was one that appeared here in this room, and he was nicknamed Shouter. So if you want to move over near the linking book panels for now, and look back towards the Barrow stone, we'll see if we can get him to appear. Okay, Murfak, if you can get the Barrow to come out.
Speaking of the Barrow, I was actually visiting neighborhoods one time, and I actually saw him place the Barrow linking book or something one time. It was a neat, and it wasn't even a hood. It was a public instance too.
Mm-hmm.
So if you ever get a chance to see it, it's very neat.
Come on, little Barrow. Come on. Here, boy.
They're timid little creatures.
May we borrow some of your time?
Oh no.
They.
That happens all over in several places on Agra Island as well. They'll come out for a moment, scream something, and then they're off again.
Just be sure to take a picture before they leave off.
Just
Wouldn't they
outside this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wouldn't a burrow normally have to touch its hand to its chest before to link out?
They usually do in these animations. In fact, there he just did.
Oh, he just did. I'm
Yes.
sorry. Yeah, it's like he touched his heart.
Actually, it's a tattoo. There is a specific tattoo that they wear or they get when they become adults, and that's what allows them to link. Okay, if you'll all come outside the linking book room now.
And that's the tattoo that Esha removed so that he could link.
Correct. It had to come from a living Barrow, which is why the Twisted One was still alive and looking for revenge.
Burrow Nikasoloth.
Okay. This is called the neighborhood square, even though it's round. The name for this area, the square, comes from the DRC website and an article they wrote about it. There was an illustration with the caption BEVP 104.093, a Phase 1 survey, Survey 4, or a Phase 1 Survey 4, mapping sketch of the Bevan neighborhood square. And then it's signed by Ingberg and Doug M. The neighborhood squares are not always the same from one to the next. Most of them have the paper lanterns that you see and the Denis clock, but not always. Those lanterns were hung by the DRC to provide extra light and have Denis writing on them. But the sentence they spell out isn't in the Denis language. The writing actually reads, this Shay Ioisha Lantern, which seems to be a garbled version of this is a lantern. It might have been written by a person who was only had passing familiarity with the Denis letters and who was playing a harmless prank with the writing. And I will give me a moment here. And I will bring up, let's see. I believe that would be under text. Yes. No? Rats. I thought I had organized everything better than this. Oh, here it is. Okay, if you look at the stream window, I have a picture of the lantern laid out flat. What it's the Denis writing below that, and then what it says in English characters. Okay. If you look above the doors here that open in the two rooms here, okay, you will see that there is writing above them. Okay. They are both copies of a panel card with Denis writing from Agra Island. The sentence transliteration is Rabantano Tenian Shemti. That means the island welcomes you. Richard A. Watson said that those panels were never intended to be there. The only place that message was supposed to appear was on the Agra ferry terminal. My suspicion is that there used to be carved panels that described the rooms but were too damaged to keep. So restoration engineers that worked here may have needed something written in Denis to put in their places and grab copies of the only Denis message carving they knew of, the island welcome message. Looking back at the clock, the Denis word for a clock is gorayan, and the square's clock displays units of time called partavoti. A partavo is about 1 hour and 13 minutes long, and there are 25 in a Denis day. The plaza clocks are set to Denis time, so they don't match up with the surface time displayed in your key device. Denis clocks, of course, run in the direction opposite of surface clocks, so as you're facing the magnifying glass at the bottom, the clock will turn in what is counterclockwise for the surface. Now, the private rooms, what I call the meditation chambers, over here, as we go in, they have a particular lamp cover design which looks somewhat like the shape of the doors into it. And this is a special room that contains a set of 5 smaller rooms that can be closed off by heavy doors. While we don't know the Denis name or purpose of the area, I call it the meditation chambers because of the way they're constructed. The interior rooms are arranged in a circle around a central space that contains a floating sculpture and have windows that allow people inside the rooms to see it. When explorers saw the sculpture, it reminded them of a Fabergé egg, so they called the area the Egg Room. However, that's not what the sculpture represents. Denis religion is centered around their concept of the universe as a gigantic tree with all of the worlds found on it making up the leaves that spring from the tree's branches. They call it Retero ach Jaruth, which means the tree of possibility, or often they'll just call it the Great Tree. The sculpture in the center of the room represents the original seed that the Great Tree grew from in the Rone creation story. We're fairly certain that the stone used to make the sculpture was quarried in an age called Rebec, since there is a type of rock there that floats naturally. By the way, as an out-of-character note, in Uru Ages Beyond Myst and Uru Complete Chronicles, it literally does become an egg room when you activate the Easter egg quest. The seed is replaced by a big Easter egg floating in the center chamber. And let's see if I can show that to you. If I grab the right mouse. Okay, and then I need to go up one level. So if you're looking at the stream window, You will see the one, whoops, I need to replay that. This is the one and only time that this actually is the egg room.
Hello? Test? Test, Victor, are we on?
Okay. And turn that. Okay. The 5 small rooms contain a shelf below the window on the seed, which may have been intended as writing surface or to hold a book for reading. In certain instances of the rooms, those shelves may hold linking books or note papers. During the Easter egg quest, the 5 papers are clues to an Easter egg to the quest, and were written in surface language, but using a cipher in which the letters were offset in the alphabet by a certain amounts. After deciphering, the instructions had to be rearranged in proper order. Something else you'll notice in here is that in the corridor that surrounds the 5 meditation chambers, there are vases that decorate. Let's see if I can find one around here. Oh, here's one. These vases have text on them, but they are a new edition commissioned by the DRC. They weren't here in Denis times. The design of the vases was decided by yet another explorer contest. They were invited to create decorative vase drawings that would fit the aesthetic of the room. The contest winner was explorer Svein Rune Reinhardsen. The Denis writing that you see on this pattern is in Denenglish, which is explorer slang for English language phrases that are written using Denis letters. It reads, "Water will flow." However, had that been written in Denis, the phrase would be "Anno boremen," which literally translates as "water will flow it." There were other... Let's go ahead and... here we go. Okay, so here's what the text of that written on that vase looks like if it's laid out flat in the, and I've got that in the stream window. This is what it would look like if it were actually written in Denis instead of English. And here's the original concept for the vase. An explorer named Rusty also participated, and he came up with this design, although of course it did not win the contest and so is not here. I suppose that they thought that it just didn't fit the aesthetic of the room. Another contender was this one here. And this one here. We don't have a shape for this one, but this is another pattern that was proposed for one. Okay, and the next place we want to go is the classroom. Any questions while we're walking over there?
Yeah, Shiloh had asked a question a while back, and also Ethan Ever had a question. Shiloh, why don't you go first, because you had asked it about 15 minutes ago. It has to do with the rotation of books and social stratification, like to the upper classes.
Yeah, as far as rotation of books goes, I don't know that there actually was one. As I said, linking books tended to be expensive, so once a neighborhood had some, it was probably something they had purchased themselves. In other words, or else that was donated to them by the government during the garden bench. And that means that unless somebody came up with some serious cash to buy a new one, the same books would remain there indefinitely.
And the question Ethan had was about the arches in the community room. I didn't quite understand what he was referring to, and we might have to go back in there for you to answer the question. So why don't we just go ahead and finish up your classroom tour here?
We've only got about 5 minutes left. So
that's what I was.
Yeah.
So that's what I was suggesting. Yeah.
So I'm just going to talk about a couple things here, and then we'll pick it up again next month. However, let's see. The question was asked, is this another form of social stratification, or would the common Denis been able to get to access this room? And the answer is no, they wouldn't. It is very definitely social stratification. Denis has several layers of social class, and there wasn't an awful lot of movement between them. The common Denis, the only place that they would have actually had, other than possibly some public parks, if they were permitted to go there, is that there was a big common library in the Denis city, and that place is where common people could go to visit ages. But the problem is that those ages tend to have been written by apprentice writers who were still learning the craft. Arte, who was the king who visited the common library and asked where the ages of Denis were?
Wasn't that Shomat?
No, not Shomat. It was that one that was really beloved by the people, and who also instituted the common neighborhood on Agra.
Oh, that was Kedri. And
King
the common
Kedri.
neighborhood was Shamathan after his mother, which was renamed to Carathan
later,
after Carath's death.
Yeah. Anyway, what happened is that they tended to get kind of cast-off books in the common library for regular Denis to visit, and they were nowhere near as good as the ones that you'll see here in this neighborhood. Or any other upper class neighborhood for that matter. So Kedri, when he visited that, noticed how shoddy the books were. as far as how they were constructed, and actually donated some of his really valuable linking books to that library so that people could enjoy them. In any case, this classroom is where Denis children were homeschooled. The characters for Denis numbers and letters are written around the tops of the walls, and the ceiling of the room is a star field painting. Whether that field was for beauty or served an instructional purpose is unknown. Common Denis children were schooled for 15 years, after which young men and women could apply for apprenticeship in a minor Denis guild. The Denis upper crust handled education differently. If a boy was born into the family of a member of a major guild, then he was automatically accepted into that guild or another major guild, even if, no matter what. Those students were taken from their families at the age of 4 and housed in a guild dormitory for the duration of their education. That never happened to girls because they were barred from membership in major guilds. The DRC left notices in the classroom with basic information such as known Denis holidays and how Denis timekeeping worked. But there's a paper here that was written in Denis. The title of the paper is Kennen Gore, which means it is time. At some point, much of the paper was torn away, and so you only see a fragment of it on the desk now. However, earlier it was complete. It's unknown who wrote the paper or why they wrote it, although many people suspect that it was Yisha. It sounds like a revolutionary manifesto. Translating the paper is still an ongoing process, but we've learned some of what the words are over the last few years, even though most of it is still guesswork. So this is the current idea of what it says. It is time. It is time for the oppressed to take, and then it suspects that they say control of Denis, but that's not unconfirmed. It is time for the oppressors to be taken from. It is time for the silent ones to be heard. It is time for the, quote, partitions to be something or other. But partitions is also uncertain. It is time for the lowest ones to be raised, and those are educated guesses because we know the words for low and high. It is time for the highest to be lowered. It is time for us to come together. It is time for them to be something or other. It is time for the change. We will not be pacified. We will not something their words. They do not have the right to rule us. They do not have the something to something us. They will learn that we cannot be something. They will know that we cannot be something. It is time. And at this point, there's more to talk about in here, but we will go ahead and pick up on that at next month because Arte will give us a short lecture on how the Denis letters and numbers here worked.
Oh, fantastic.
But there is one last thing that I wanted to mention that I had talked about earlier. If we can get some light, I had mentioned that we know of no way in order to get to the homes around this area. But back in this corner, there actually is a doorway that our own Zeke Matthews here discovered several years ago.
Woohoo.
And there's no way of knowing that that's what this door is for. It could be a broom closet. It could be the teacher's office. It was basically, or it could be a passage to corridors that lead up to the homes.
It's where I hide my chocolate.
However, the one thing is that we do know that this is the only door on this side of the neighborhood. And that will do it for now. I hope you all enjoyed the tour.
Well, thank you so much to Larry and Arte and Zeke and Murphac for all their generous contributions to these tours. Let's all give them a round of applause, please. And our next tour will be Saturday, March 25th at 11 key time. We will be, as Larry said, we will be continuing the tour of the neighborhood and then moving on to our next tour. Location will be kept secret till then, just to keep you all in suspense. And as far as the cavern events, Larry is posting a list of them in the Twitch stream. And two of those events are taught by Arte, Story Night and Story Night Europe. Arte, did you want to say anything about those?
Sure. Last week at Story Night, we talked about the fall of Denis, the actual the events that occurred on the actual day of the fall. Tonight, we're going to continue with that in the epilogue of the fall, where we learn about the fates of Anna and Atris, of Viovus and Aegarus, of Gen and the rest of Denis. And that starts in about an hour, 1400 key time.
Fantastic. And do you want to mention briefly about your Dunny language class? But before you do, real quick, Ethan might be IMing you after you end your Twitch stream, Larry, to ask his question. And also, Seattle, why don't you go ahead, try to remember to ask Larry next month about the patterns on the floor if they're meaningful.
Most of the things on the floor are just common patterns that the Denis were were fond of. However, just because we're ending the stream doesn't mean that they can't ask the questions now.
Thank you, Larry. So go ahead, Arte.
Well, the Guild of Instructors teaches the Denis language. It's a 6 week or 6 classes. You learn the numbering system, the alphabet, the grammar, and by the end of 6 classes, you'll be able to read pretty much whatever is written in Denis throughout the Myst universe. I teach in my teaching avatar known as Shokutan Ren. I'll put that in chat. If I can spell it.
I just beat you to it. I anticipated it.
There it is. And we have another teacher from the guild here, Anathea. She uses her teaching avatar, Shokutan Anna. So the two of us, we teach the Denis language to anybody who is interested. Classes are taught, it's a one-on-one class. So you get the full attention, time and attention of your instructor.
All right. And with that said, Larry, you gonna shut down your stream?
Yeah.
Also, don't forget to give to the catacomb too, so that we can keep doing these tours every year.
The cavern.
Cavcon.
Cavcon. Yes. Yeah. These servers are run off of donations to Cyan. Okay. And
thank you, everyone, for coming.
Let's go ahead and kill it now, and we'll hopefully see you.